So it's the 2nd of August. I'm currently on my solo week off with Charlie. We're having a fab time, and I have finished my first read of the month, which is Hex by Thomas Oldhuvelt. Apologies if I got that wrong. This was lent to me by my friend Steph, and it's a horror, and I don't read a lot of horror as a general habit, but Steph lent this to me along with the Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King that I read last month. And in this we are following a small town in America near New York City, and they are haunted by a witch who's got her eyes and her mouth sewn shut, and all of the people that live in the village know all about her, and she like shows up at random and just like stands in their houses, and she doesn't do anything, but if you move to that town you can't leave. You can't move away, and you can leave the town for a few hours a day, but if you're away for any longer than that, much longer than that, you get suicidal thoughts, so everyone is stuck there. So one of my favourite tropes is kind of enclosed spaces, so like in a hotel or on an island or in a haunted village. So that's why Steph lent this to me. She did also warn me I might have to put it in the freezer, which is a Friends reference. And yeah, it started out really strong. It's really creepy. The first like 50 pages or so I was getting like proper chills. I would not recommend reading this alone in a dark house, which is exactly what I was doing. But then it just got a little bit confused and a bit convoluted. There's some really cool kind of commentary on how like a pack of people can start to think differently than an individual would, and that whole kind of, I'm gonna put this down, that whole kind of pack mentality and like mob culture. So that was really interesting, and there's some stuff in here that's really shocking that happens, but yeah, it just sort of felt like it didn't all come together in the end. There's also a few word uses in here. This was written in 2012, but there are a few words in here that are not acceptable. So be aware of that. I also need to give trigger warnings for suicide, suicidal thoughts, murder of a child, and general like horror and gore. So just be aware of that going in. I've given it 3 out of 5. I didn't hate it, but it felt like it definitely lost momentum for me, and there's also a few word uses in here that I don't think are acceptable. So yes, overall not the best start to the month, but it was something different. I wouldn't have picked it up on my own, so it's always good to try something else. So yeah. It is the 4th of August, and I have just finished my second read for the month, which is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And again, it's this one of these beautiful, what are they called, V&A editions, absolutely stunning, just lovely. So this is my classic for the month, and we follow Mary, who is taken from India to Yorkshire when her family dies, and she's placed with her uncle, who lives in this massive rambling house, and she's basically left to her own devices because everyone just kind of really forgets about her. And she's told that there is a secret garden that nobody is allowed into, that has been locked up since her aunt died 10 years before. And basically it's about her finding the garden, and it's this lovely story about grief and coming back to life and finding yourself, and it's just lovely. I've had such a lovely time reading this. I started it yesterday, finished today, and yeah, it's just really soothing and lovely, makes you think, and I've given it 5 stars and would highly recommend it. It is the 7th of August, and I have just finished my next read for the month, which is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. This is my reread for the month. It's historical fiction. We're in Amsterdam in 1686, and we're following a young girl called Nella who gets married and moves from the countryside to her husband's house in Amsterdam, and it's all basically about the secrets and lies in the family and things that happen. Like I said, it's a reread, so I read it before. I read it when it first came out, and from what I've seen since I've joined Booktube, it can be a bit of a Marmite book, and I'm not sure why. I really enjoyed it. I flew through it in 2 days, and I'm going to give it 5 stars, which is what I gave it last time. For me, it's really well paced. It's got a good mystery to it. It's quite creepy in places. I really like Nella. Yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's going to be 5 stars. As you can see, I'm somewhere different. We are in London for the week. If you've been following me on Bookstagram, you will have seen what we've been up to. Yesterday we went speedboating on the Thames. We've got Charlie with us. We went speedboating on the Thames. We went to the Shard. We found the TARDIS, which is outside of Earlscourt train station. What else did we do? Just general sightseeing. Oh, and we went on the river taxi, so instead of getting the tube, we are staying in Canary Wharf from my uncle's flat, so we got the river taxi down the river, and yeah, and then went out for a really good meal, and today we are going to Hamleys, pray for us, and then we're going to go and see School of Rock at the theatre, and then tomorrow we're doing the Harry Potter studio tour, so yeah, very excited. So yeah, that's where I am today. You can see a bit of the view here. I will put a clip in the next bit for you just to see. But yeah, that's the book that I finished, and I very much enjoyed it.
It's now much later on the same evening as the last clip. I meant to film it in the morning, and then I got sidetracked with getting ready and getting the boys out the flat, blah blah blah. But I just wanted to show you the view from where we're staying. So you've got the Shard there, London Eye is there, you've got the rivers like somewhere here. Yeah, it's not bad. Tonight's our last night, so the boys are just doing the bath routine. I've packed up and I got a cheeky glass of wine on the go. It's actually quite a big glass because it's the end of the bottle. But yeah, I said I'd show you where we are, and this is the view. It's pretty sweet.
It is now the 10th of August, as you can see. I am back home. Had to go back to work today, which kind of sucked, I can't lie. I do really enjoy my job, but boy, the effort of getting my brain back into like work gear after 2 weeks was a lot. But I have finished my next read for the month, which is An American Marriage by, and hopefully I'm going to get this right, T.R.E. Jones. I should really have looked up how to say that before I film this clip. It won the Women's Prize for Fiction this year. I can see why it did. I've read quite a few from the long list and the short list for the Women's Prize this year. This is definitely my favourite of the ones that I read. I didn't actually intend to read it particularly, but I picked it up when Kath and I went shopping. We met up in Bristol. She's got the YouTube channel Strange the Reader. We met up in June, I think, for a cup of coffee, and then obviously we went book shopping, obviously, and we both decided to pick this up when we saw it, although we haven't badly read it, and it came up on my TBR, so I thought I'd give it a go. We are following Celestial and Roy, and basically they are newlyweds, and when they were newlyweds, Roy is accused of a rape that we know he didn't commit, and he gets sent to prison for that crime, and it's basically, as it says in the title, it's about their marriage. Big sections of it are told via letters back and forth between them. Celestial starts a relationship with their best friend, which is on the back, so that's not a spoiler. And then Roy gets released unexpectedly early from prison, and it's basically about what happens to them. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I can see why it won the prize. It talks obviously about the American justice system, particularly, and how it affects black men and how biased it is against them. But that's kind of a secondary storyline. It's really just more about these two characters and their relationship and what happens to it because of the situation that they find them in. I've given it 4 out of 5 rather than 5 out of 5 stars, purely because it's only 310 pages long, and I felt like we could have done with another 50 or even 100 pages, because parts of it feel a little bit skipped over and a little bit rushed, and I wanted a bit more depth and a bit more detail so I could really get into the emotion of it. But I did thoroughly enjoy it, as I said, and I will definitely look out for more from this author, and I would really recommend it. It is the 14th of August and I have finished another book. In the interest of full disclosure, I actually finished this yesterday, but I'm not feeling great at the moment, and I really didn't feel like filming yesterday, so you're getting the clip now. Anyway, the book was Stone Cold by CJ Box. I picked this up at random when I went to the book barn a couple of months ago because I just thought it looked like an interesting kind of thriller. We're following I think it's like a game warden in America who is tasked with going out and checking out this multimillionaire who's suddenly cropped up in this town, bought everything up, and seems to kind of be controlling things. That's the premise. I didn't know when I picked it up, but it's actually the 17th book in a series. But I did, you can read it without reading the others, because I could understand what was happening. but it was just very average. Like, it was fine. It wasn't doing anything groundbreaking. It wasn't offensive. It was just fine. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I read it quickly. It wasn't particularly thrilling. Yeah, it's like one of those books that you might pick up when you're on holiday if there's like a little library in your hotel or in your villa, and then kind of forget about quite quickly. And I don't mean to be harsh with that. It's just kind of, I feel like I won't remember this when I get to the end of the month and I watch these clips back. So yeah, it was fine. Didn't set my world alight. It is the 17th of August and I have just finished my next book for the month. It's been a few days, like I think nearly a week since I finished something, because I've been having a bit of a mental health wobble. I've started loads of things, but I haven't finished anything until now. So the book I finished is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan Maguire. And I have to be honest, I only picked it up because the audiobook is super short. It's 4 hours 45 minutes, and I thought it might help me kind of complete something. I've also heard Rachel from Rachel Marie Book Junkie talk about it loads, like a lot. So I thought, well, if she talks about it so much, there must be something about it. And man, I really enjoyed it, really liked it. I love it when a book surprises me. So basically the story is we're following a boarding school where children go, or kids go, teenagers go. And they're teenagers that have had adventures in other worlds, like they found doorways through, and then for whatever reason they've been kicked out of those worlds and then come back to ours, and they're kind of struggling to reacclimatise to our world. And there's a murder mystery element to it, but I'm not going to say anything else about the plot because it's so short that I'll just end up spoiling it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The writing is beautiful. There's loads of representation in it. We've got an asexual main character. We've got a trans main character. We've got a character who isn't diagnosed in the story, but clearly has some kind of like germophobic type issue. And yeah, it's just really good. The writing, like I said, is beautiful. It's really whimsical, but like I don't usually like whimsical writing, but there's just something about this that I really enjoyed. And in terms of genre, I guess it's a YA magical realism murder mystery. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to pick up the next one. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars, but that's only because I worked out the murder mystery really quickly. I worked out who it was quite fast. But then I do read a lot of thrillers and it's a YA, so maybe I should put it higher. Maybe 4.5 stars. I don't usually give half stars. But yeah, really enjoyed it and I'm definitely going to listen to the others. It is the 18th of August and I have just finished my non-fiction read for the month, which is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Renee Edo Lodge. This is a book that has been around quite a lot online I think it came out in 2016, and it was shortlisted and was longlisted for loads of prizes, and I can absolutely see why. As you can probably guess from the title, if you haven't heard of this already, it is a look at race in England, in the UK. Which I found very interesting because when we're usually talking about race, it's usually in the American context, and what she says in the opening of this is that like British people try and pretend that racism doesn't exist anymore, which is obviously just not the case. And this looks at racism in a lot of different ways. It looks at class, it looks at feminism, it looks at the history of race in the UK. There's a chapter called Fear of the Black Planet, I think. I deliberately read this really slowly over basically the whole month up to now. I started it on the 2nd of August because I really wanted to like concentrate on it and focus and not like rush through. So yeah, it's split into 7 chapters. The preface first, then there's histories, the system, what is white privilege, fear of a black planet, the feminism question, race and class, there's no justice, there's just us, and then an aftermath, which is a new chapter that's been added to this edition of it. And yeah, I found this really impactful. I think it's a very important book that everybody should be reading. She talks about how white people can help, which I found useful. And most of it was just a reminder of things that I already know and beliefs that I already hold, but it just feels like something that I will read more than once. I'll probably read it again and again because you just need to be aware of yourself, and it was a reminder of that. I also found, I was a bit worried it might be a bit dry, because sometimes books like this can be a little bit like tough to get through because of the writing style, but this is written in a really engaging and really readable way. So if you've seen this and you've been maybe intimidated because you think it might be dry, it's not. So please read it. I would highly recommend it, and I gave it 5 stars, and I will be looking out for more from her. It is the 21st of August, and I have just finished my next read of the month, which is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. I've read that as part of Thrillerathon, and I will leave my vlog up here. So it's obviously a Karen Slaughter, so it's a thriller. It follows a girl who, well, she's not a girl really, she's the same age as me, and she has breakfast with her mum one day, set in America, small town America. She has breakfast with her mum on her birthday, and there is a shooting that happens, and the way that her mum reacts, she's clearly had some kind of training which her daughter is completely unaware of. And it basically goes from there, and I don't really want to say too much else about the plot because it's a Karen Slaughter, there's twists and turns, there's backstory, we go back and forth in time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've given it a 4 out of 5 rather than a 5, only because I've read The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, and that's kind of become my yardstick for Karen Slaughter books, and it wasn't quite as good. I didn't like the protagonist as much as I did for The Good Daughter. She was a little bit whiny and a little bit annoying to start with, although she does grow over the book, which I think is probably the point. But yeah, just didn't quite capture me as much as The Good Daughter, but I still thoroughly enjoyed her. 4 stars is still a really good rating, obviously. So I would recommend it if you are into thrillers, although because it's Karen Slaughter, I do have to give trigger warnings for sexual violence, rape, gaslighting, murder, like general bodily horror. Yeah, so if you're able to kind of handle that kind of topic, then definitely recommend this one, and I'm very happy to have read it. It is the 24th of August. I have just finished my 100th read of the year, which is Sleep by C.L. Taylor. You will have seen, hopefully you'll have seen my Thrillerathon vlog by the time this goes up, so you'll know it's my second read for that. It follows Anna, who moves from London to the northeast tip of Scotland, to a remote island to work in a hotel. She has a trauma that happens, and so she leaves London to get away from it, and she's been having trouble sleeping, and she moves to this hotel. A group of guests arrive, and then people start dying, and that is all I will say, because obviously it's a thriller, so I don't want to give it away. Really enjoyed it. It was Nicole's host pick for Thrillerathon, and I think it's her favourite thriller of the year so far. I can see why she likes it. It's got some really good like twists and turns. I did work out who the killer was quite quickly. There was one sentence in the book, I won't say where it is because I don't want to give spoilers, but there was one sentence and I thought, it's you, and I was right. But what I didn't guess were the other twists and how everyone was connected. So yeah, really enjoyed it, thought it was good. I've given it 4 stars. It's also my 100th read of the year, so I've now met my GoodReads goal. I'm not going to reset it on the app because I'm quite happy to just read as much as I can and see where I get this year, although Charlie has set me the unofficial goal of 150 books, so I think it's doable, but we'll see. So yeah, that is my next read for the month and my 100th. It is still the 24th of August, and I have just finished the next read for the month, which is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I will just say that Steph's dog, GB, is in the room, so if you can hear snuffling, that's what it is. Yeah, so this is my next read of the month. I'm also reading this for Thrillerathon, so you will have seen me talk about it in that vlog. I didn't like this. So the premise is there's a young girl playing outside the cabin that she's staying in with her dad's. They are approached by a group of strangers who say that the end of the world is coming and only the family can try and stop it. And it's basically about, is the end of the world happening? Are these people just delusional? What's going on? It's very violent and gory in places, but I felt like it ran out of steam about 20% in, and then it just dragged. And I also really didn't like the end. So I've only finished it because it's quite short and because I was reading it for Thrillerathon. I think otherwise I probably would have DNF'd. I will try it. There's another Paul Tremblay book called A Head Full of Ghosts that I think I will give a try. So I'm just keeping an eye on the dog. But yeah, this was unfortunately not for me. It is the 29th of August, and yesterday I finished my next read of the month, which was Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I know the point of this like vlog style wrap up is for you to get my immediate thoughts after I finish the book, but yesterday was my birthday. My birthday vlog will be going up with a video after this, so you'll see that shortly. But it was my birthday and the whole day was a whole
bit of a whirlwind. But also, I think even if it hadn't been my birthday, I would still have filmed this clip today, because this is one of those books that I needed to think about a little bit before I gave my thoughts. So it's a thriller, psychological thriller. I started it for Thrillerathon on audiobook. I'd heard really mixed things about Sarah Pinborough as an author. Some people love her. Some people seem to find her very mediocre, and some people really don't like her. And some of the people that don't like her are like friends of mine whose bookish opinions I trust. But I picked up the audiobook because I was intrigued by the synopsis, and because I just needed another audiobook to kind of get me through Thrillerathon, and it was fairly short, it's only about 9 hours. So yeah, I picked it up. So synopsis is, we've got Louise, who is a single mum. She meets a guy in a bar. They have a fun evening together, talking and chatting and stuff, end up kissing, and then she goes into work the next day because she's a receptionist, and the guy that she kisses is her new boss. He's also married. So that's kind of how the story starts. So we get Louise's perspective, and we also get David's wife, Adele, we get her perspective. And I really can't say any more than that without giving like huge spoilers, but it's, like I said, it's a psychological thriller. David and Adele appear to have this perfect marriage, but we learn very quickly that David is very controlling. Like, Adele is not allowed to have money or a phone, a mobile phone, and he like calls her at certain times of the day, so it feels like he's checking up on her. And it's that question of like, what is going on within this perfect marriage, and how is Louise going to be affected by it, and like she sort of gets embroiled with this couple. And that really is all I can say, otherwise I'm going to accidentally spoil it. So I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I think the only reason I didn't give it 5 was I did see the end coming, although there are several twists in this, and several of them I didn't see, and the very end I didn't work out. I could see fairly early on where the shape of the story was going, and I got that right, but there are certain things, man, I wish I could talk in spoilers. If you've read this book, please let me know, because I need to talk to somebody about it. It's one of those. Yeah, I just thought it was really clever, really clever writing, really cleverly plotted. I really liked Louise and Adele. And yeah, it's just got one of the cleverest, most clever plots that I've ever read. So if you're looking for something twisty and clever, I would recommend it. Yeah, and it's not like particularly gory like a Karen Slaughter would be, so it's probably like a good beginner thriller, or like if you've read a few thrillers, like this would be a good one. If you've read things like The Girl on the Train, or Gone Girl, or The Woman in the Window, it's very much in that kind of vein of thriller. So if you like that kind of thing, you'd probably like this. And yeah, I was really surprised actually to like it as much as I did, and I'm glad I read it. I will look for more from her, but I think you have to be careful which ones you pick, so I will think about it. But there's quite a lot of her books on Scribed, so I'll probably listen to another one on audiobook at some point. But yeah, that was the next read of the month, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is the 31st of August. It is a Saturday afternoon, hence the messy hair and the t-shirt, and I have finished my final read for the month, which was The Elimination of Ursula Flight by Anna Marie Crowhurst. I really loved this book. It's historical fiction. We start in 1664 when Ursula is born, and we basically follow her until she's a grown woman. And I just adored it. The writing is just beautiful. And Ursula is funny and clever and brave, and she does her own thing. And we just follow her life and her loves. She's married very young, and we follow her marriage, and she wants to be an author, a playwright, and we follow her with that. This is formatted really interestingly. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show you like this because the book's so heavy, but there's like bits that are scripts. Let me see if I can find some. So yeah, there are bits that are written like scripts like that. Yeah, I just absolutely adored it. 5 out of 5 easily, and also it's got the most stunning cover. Even the back is nice. And this is also a debut novel, which is crazy, and I will definitely be looking for more. I'm hoping maybe for more, like the ending of this is like really, you could definitely write more stories, so I hope we get a bit more from this character, but I will definitely be looking for more from the author because I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. So those are all the books that I read in the month of August. I'm now just going to do my stats, and then I'm also going to talk you through my TBR for Scoobydooathon, which I will explain in a minute. So I've got windows open, so if you can hear cars and stuff, sorry, but it's still like a bajillion degrees here in the UK. So my stats for the month: I read 13 books, which totaled 4,554 pages, which breaks down as 147 pages a day, which I think is about average for me, so that's a pretty good month, and 13 books. Obviously I'm really happy with that. In terms of star ratings, I gave, I didn't DNF and I didn't give any 1 stars, so that's good. I had 1 2-star read, I had 2 3-star reads, and then I had 5 4-star reads and 5 5-star reads, which is amazing. So yeah, I've had a really, really good reading month. August in general has been a really positive month. As you have seen, I had 2 weeks off at the start of the month with Charlie and and Gary. Obviously Gary's off the second week, so I had 2 weeks with Charlie and a week with Gary as well. And then the end of the month even, I just had my birthday in it, so my birthday vlog will be coming up next week. So yeah, I've had a really lovely month. Although I am excited for September, October, because I am definitely an autumn person at heart, and I'm ready for it to be cooler, and I'm ready to wear the Ravenclaw jumper that I bought at the Harry Potter studio tour, and I'm ready for candles, and yeah, I'm just ready for it to be autumn. But yeah, August has been really good, definitely my favourite month of the summer, and yeah, it's been a good one. I will also just run through my genres quickly. So I read 1 horror, 1 classic, 2 historical fiction, 1 literary fiction, 6 thrillers, obviously because we had Thrillerathon, 1 YA and 1 non-fiction. So heavier on the thrillers than previous months, but I did thoroughly enjoy them. But I still got a good like little spread of genres there, so that's good. And then my favourite book of the month has definitely been The Elimination of Ursula Flight. I just adored it. It will have been the last clip before this clip, so you'll already have seen me rave about it. To be honest, when I'm filming this, I've still got 50 pages left, but it's the last day of August today. I will definitely finish this afternoon, so you will have seen my clip, and I just know it's going to be my favourite read of the month. So it's a bit shiny, let's tilt it forward. I absolutely adored it, and it was definitely my favourite read of August. And then I'm going to talk through my TBR for Scoobydooathon. So I am a bad Booktube friend, and I don't have time to get this and a separate TBR up for Scoobydooathon, so I'm just smushing them together a little bit. So in case you don't know, I'm sure you probably do, and I will leave like links in the description to everything. So Scoobydooathon is running from the 2nd to the 15th of September. It was created by the wonderful Simone from Simone, and I absolutely love her channel. She's so lovely as well, and she's been really supportive of my channel and been so lovely. We're actually buddy reading in September, which I'm really excited for. So when she announced that she was going to do a readathon, I obviously checked it out. Full disclosure, I am not a particular fan of Scooby-Doo. I didn't really watch TV as a kid, so it wasn't really part of my childhood as it was for other people. So I don't really know that much about it. I think I've watched a couple of episodes while at like other people's houses, but yeah, it wasn't really a thing in our house. But still, I'm excited for this readathon. So she's also got 2 co-hosts. She's got the lovely Emily from Novel Novels and Clint from Reads Readers, who are also helping co-host. It's obviously running for 2 weeks, and there's a challenge to go with every member of the Scooby-Doo gang. I think there's probably another name for it, but I can't remember. So I'm going to run through the books that I'm reading and tell you that the challenges that they cover off. I am going to try and meet all of the challenges. It does run for 2 weeks, as I said, but I'm going to try and do it in less than that, because the Testaments comes out on the 9th or 10th, I think the 10th of September, which is in the 2nd week, and that is going to like, I will be putting down all books to read that book, and there will also be a reading vlog for that. So I am going to attempt all of the challenges, and I am definitely going to be joining in, but it will either be slightly shorter for me or it will slightly overrun. So I will get everything covered off, but it's just slightly different because that's landing in the middle of it. So for the challenges of Scooby-Doo, read a book starting with an R, with the letter R, or an author with an R initial. And also for the challenge of Daphne, read a cover by book. I am reading The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee DJ, is that right? I'm so sorry, I should have looked up how to say it. Yeah, I'm going to read this. This has been on my TBR for ages. I got a book voucher for my birthday, which, oh good, a wasp. Lovely. Which will be talked about in my birthday vlog, which will come next week. And I saw this in Waterstones, and it's just beautiful. So it's a cover by, and it's got an R in the author's name. And to be honest, it's been on my TBR for a while. But I don't know a massive amount about it. I think it's about a girl
who has to go and be a wife of the king, but then every day, every morning, every sunrise, he's killing the women that are sent to him, and she goes in with a plan to basically revenge her friend's death. I think that's what it's about. But I've seen a few people talking about it and thought it was interesting enough to put on my TBR, saw it in Waterstones and thought yes, and then I realised it would also fit for Scoobydooathon, so that's perfect. So that's the first book on my TBR for that. The next book covers off Shaggy. So I've got my notes down here. Shaggy, read a book in your best friend's favourite genre, and it also covers Scrappy-Doo, read a book with less than 200 pages, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. So my best friend is Steph. She's heavily into horror, or anything basically that will frighten me, she's into. So she lent me this when I went up to see her the other week, and it is less than 200 pages because it's 146 pages, so it's nice and short. It's got a great cover. I could have done that for the cover buy really, but I think it's supposed to be pretty because Daphne's pretty. And again, I don't know a lot about this. I think it's about a girl whose sister's been accused of killing their family or something, and it's going to be creepy because Steph lent it to me, and actually I'm quite excited to get to it, and it will just, you know, it will take me probably a couple of hours to read it. So yeah, that's my pick for those two prompts. There is still a wasp flying around, so I'm sorry if you can hear him. He needs to get out of my lounge. Next, for the challenge of Velma, read a book with a genius protagonist, I am reading Matilda by Roald Dahl, which I borrowed from Charlie, and he was very happy to lend me one of his books, bless him. This is a reread for me. I think I actually might have already read this once this year, but I'm going to read it again. I think everyone knows the story of this, about a little girl who basically loves to read, and there's a magical element to it. I won't say just in case you've been living in a cave and haven't read this book, but it's a Roald Dahl. It's lovely. Again, it's very short. How long are you? Yeah, 230 pages. So that'll just be a lovely afternoon read, I would think, probably on the Sunday. So yeah, excited for that. And then the last book that I'm reading covers off Fred. Read a book with blue and white on the cover. Oh yeah, just that one. So just the blue and white on the cover, which is The Hanging by Lottie and Soren Hammer. This I know literally nothing about. When I went to the book run with the boys a couple months ago, I picked it up. It's Scandinavian thriller. On the back it says, on a cold Monday morning before school begins, two children make a gruesome discovery. Hanging from the roof of the gymnasium are the bodies of 5 naked and heavily discovered men. And that's literally as far as I've read. I'm in. Wanted to put, you know, a thriller or something into this TBR. Because that's how I roll. So yeah, those are the books I'm going to read for Scoobydooathon, and I'm very excited to be taking part, and really happy and excited to be supporting Simone, because like I said, she's wonderful. And yeah, I think that was all my notes, so that's good. So yeah, this has been my reading month. Had a lovely time. Leave me a comment if you've read any of these books and what you thought, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye!